Hey guys, it's just your average Joe. It's another episode of Talk Soup, and we are going to be discussing and reacting to the latest WandaVision episode, which was episode 8. We only got one episode to go, guys. As you can see, I'm by myself again this week. That's fine. We're going to pull through. We're going to push through. Stay with me as I said, another episode of Talk Soup coming up. All right, guys. So I was supposed to go on tomorrow, but my co-host is unable to come on. So rather than wait till tomorrow, ideally, because the show comes on at Friday, I've noticed that a lot of YouTubers, a lot of content creators rush to put streams out to, react to or discuss, the latest WandaVision episode. I would ideally like to do it on Friday or even Saturday, but again, when working with any co-host, if you guys are doing whatever, you have to align your schedules. So Sunday just works. So long story short, because she's unable to do it this weekend, I just figured I would do a date early just to get it out of the way, just to talk to you guys. So if you guys do come on live, again, was not a planned stream. So I don't know if anybody's going to come on live and chat with me today, but if they do, I will address all the comments towards the end or, whenever they pop up. But I'm going to try to just talk about the episode really quick before we get into any questions or anything like that. But again, if you do have any questions and it's not live, just go ahead and drop that in the comments as well. Okay, so look, we all knew that this was going to be basically like a flashback episode. And hold on, is my audio in sync? Yep. I think I have a latency issue. I think my audio is off by a second. All right. Anyway, we all knew that episode 8 was going to be a flashback episode. It's been rumored for several weeks now. We knew just from some of the promo footage that we were going to get that scene where Wanda goes to the sword facility and sees the Vision's body. So we knew that was coming. We also, not only knew, but we were hoping that we were going to get some sort of like a backstory to where, basically leading us up to the events of the first episode, of the origin of the Hex. How did it start? Why did it start? Well, look, we got a lot of answers this week. It was a longer episode than the usual one, the last few, but still short. I know there were rumors that the last 3 episodes were going to be an hour long, and obviously that didn't happen because last week's episode was even shorter than this week's episode. But we were. We were treated to 2 mid-credit scenes, which is cool. And this last one was actually a real doozy, which we'll get into in a little bit. But so that being said, we all wanted those questions to what really led up to the Hex. Well, the events after Endgame up until then, and we were also told, and we also found out this episode that Hayward lied. He told everybody that Wanda went in the sword facility and stole Vision's body. So we were led to believe that was actually Vision's body, either reanimated or whatever it was that's in the Hex. But we come to find out that's actually not true. So we found out that. We got the backstory. We all speculated that these sitcom themes had to have been something that Wanda watched as a child, and that that came to fruition. We saw that. We saw the trunk that the father had of all the movies that she liked. We saw the Dick Van Dyke episode, the whole box set of Dick Van Dyke that they put in the wall. One of her favorite series, and she even picks one of her favorite episodes, which actually ends up being not aligned with what the actress actually said. She said season 2, episode 21. But I believe, in fact, what was shown was season 2, episode 20. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know if that was just something that Marvel or Disney dropped the ball on, but that didn't line up. But anyway, yeah. So we got that. We obviously got Agatha's backstory. We knew. Well, we didn't know 100%, but before, when everybody was speculating about who Agatha was or who Agnes was, and there were a lot of breadcrumbs, a lot of subtle hints that she was in fact Agatha Harkness, but one of them being the date that she said was her and Ralph's anniversary, which is June 2nd. And a YouTuber way back when basically came out and said, well, June 2nd is actually a historic date when it comes to the Salem witch trials. June 2nd, I can't remember the year, but it was around 16 something, you know, because we saw that in the credits. I think it was 1693 or something like that was where we saw, which was labeled at the very beginning of the episode. But June 2nd was the start of the witch trials. So there was a nod to that already. So, you know, we get the flashback scene where she, instead of being burned at the stake like normal witches were back then, she was being approached by her coven, and she was being accused of using dark magic, or, you know, stuff that wasn't supposed to be used by her. And you can see that she had so much power. And I believe her in a sense, unless she was deceiving them, or she was deceitful, or deceptive, I should say. She was telling them, look, I really can't control it. You know, maybe you guys, can you teach me? She was pleading with them as they were shooting her with whatever she was, you know, whatever. And then because she was so strong, so powerful, she actually, I believe inadvertently, I don't even think she meant to do that, drained the life force from them and ultimately killed them and her own mother. So so we got that, and then we flash forward to the basement scene where she's trying to figure out what type of witch Wanda is. How does she know how to do all this? It took her years to figure out certain certain magic, what's the word? Certain witch cantations, you know, in order to do certain things. She's like, you're doing this basically effortlessly. You have you're basically your the hex, everything is basically on autopilot. How are you doing this? Like, she was jealous. She was envious. So she was trying to get to the bottom of that, like we all are. And we go to little bits and pieces, little times of her life. You know, and we see her as a child right before the bomb struck, you know, and we also get more information and new information that Wanda did, in fact, you know, at least that's what's being shown to us through this episode, that Wanda did, in fact, actually have powers before volunteering with Strucker. So it's alluded to that she had powers, and she was the one that actually stopped that bomb from blowing up, that it wasn't, in fact, a dud, which was actually, I'm not going to lie, it's pretty cool to think that Wanda actually always had those powers. So it's said that she was pretty much the one that stopped it. And then we flash forward from there to when she actually goes to volunteer, her first interaction with the Scepter. And they basically told her, you know, well, I don't know if they tell her, but it's said in that scene that any of the volunteers that have come across or have been in the same room with the Scepter, they in fact never survived. None of them survived. But you see that the Mind Stone actually, what's the word? It's basically drawn to her. Like, it separates from the Scepter, comes right at her, and then it blows up for a minute. You get this bright flashing light, a yellow light that's emitted from the actual stone itself. And then she sees this image. And I actually paused it. I watched it a second time yesterday, and I paused it at that very moment. And it's almost clear as day. I mean, I was compelled to take a screenshot of it with my camera and try to like manipulate the lighting. But I was like, look, I don't even think I need to do that. Like, I'm almost positive that is a future premonition or future vision of her as a Scarlet Witch, because it almost looked like it's her face. So she gets that, and then she drops down, and then they can't understand why the video footage doesn't show that. But anyway, okay, so we go from there. Then we go to the Avengers compound immediately after the incidents of after the Age of Ultron. Quicksilver's already dead, and you can see the dynamic. You can see the relationships starting to, like, the genesis of their relationship. You know, she said, look, I was in a new country. I didn't know anybody. I just lost my brother. And that was the first house that me and Vision shared. So I thought that was a powerful scene. They're watching Malcolm in the Middle. So you can see that reference there. What was the other ones that you saw her watching besides Dick Van Dyke? You also saw Brady Bunch. So you got those references as well. But, you know, so you see that dynamic. You see and that was a really good scene. And what Vision said, what is grief but what is grief not I knew I was going to fuck this up. I should have wrote down. What is grief but love, if not love? No, what is grief if not love persevering? I believe that's what it is. But I thought that was a really, really that choked me up a little bit. That scene with that, and then you get that scene that we all were expecting, where she goes to the sword facility. And she gets the altercation. You see that first meeting with her and Hayward was basically playing her that whole time. Some of that shit that he was saying, and you could even see the reactions he was getting, like he was trying to basically bait her, but she didn't take the bait. She did break the window. She shattered the glass. She flew down. He told the guards to stand down. She felt the head of Vision, the lifeless head, and said, I can't feel you. And she realized that at that point he was gone. So, she gets back into the car. There's like an envelope on the car seat. And then we find out, when she actually gets to Westview, that apparently either her and Vision or Vision bought it and surprised her later on after the fact. But they basically have a plot of land in Westview. That was the whole reason why she went there to begin with. And when she gets there and she sees the house, there's no house there. It's completely barren, and all the loss that she had built up over the years of everything, her family, her brother, then Vision, everybody that she got close to, just gone. And she even said, that was the origin, that was the genesis of her feeling alone and empty and meaningless. And when we see that, the full force of her hex and what she admitted out to the creation of that, that fantasy world, we finally get it, and then once Agatha got all she needed, it was right there and then that she figured it out, what it actually was that she was doing. And she basically, that's when, we get the genesis of the 50s sitcom, and then Wanda snaps out of it because Agatha does a slow clap. She disappears, and then she hears her kids screaming, and Agatha's outside basically having them in a chokehold with her magic. And she says, look, you're dangerous. You don't know what you are, but basically you use chaos magic, and you basically can create reality. You can create life out of nothing. And you are the Scarlet Witch. And then that's where the episode ends, before the mid-credit scene. But we finally get, and that actually gave me a little chills. Thinking about it now, also got a little chills. But that mention of Scarlet Witch, which has never been mentioned at all in any of the MCU films, was a big thing. It was a big reveal. And I think we're starting to lean towards the fact that maybe, just maybe, especially since we only got one episode left, guys, I'm thinking, unless this episode is like an hour and a half, an hour and a half, how can they possibly introduce, unless it's in an end credit scene to kind of tease something bigger in the foreground, but for either Doctor Strange 2 or even maybe possibly Spider-Man 3, but I can't see, let's pretend it's Mephisto. I can't see Mephisto just showing up in Spider-Man 3. It would make more sense that we would see him again in Doctor Strange 2. But unless they're going to tease a bigger player in like a mid-credit or an end-credit scene, I think to jam them into whether it's a 45-minute to an hour-long episode, even an hour and a half long episode. I mean, I guess an hour and a half is on par with the average movie runtime. I mean, not the average MCU runtime. It would be 2 hours, but they can generally maybe fit some type of plot line in there. But I feel like just because there's one episode left, I think that if they were going to introduce a major villain or a bigger villain, I think they would have done so already. I think that's why I was ultimately disappointed at first viewing with this episode, was the simple fact that A, knowing we only have one more to go now, but B, I'm worried that it might feel a little bit more rushed, because I thought if we were going to get anything, whether it was a cameo, the engineer, or the fact that there might be a major villain or a main villain, I thought we would get it in this episode, but we didn't. We got a lot. Look, don't get me wrong. We did get enough to where we were informed we were basically told that, that wasn't Vision in the hex. She didn't steal his body. We got Agatha's mini backstory. We got the flashback scenes we needed up until, from Endgame sort of to when she, she's after she's blipped and she returns to her trying to get Vision's body, or at least paying her respects and giving him a proper burial. But she ends up not taking it. We did get that. We did get some other answers, which I'm happy about. And of course, the name drop of Scarlet Witch, which was big. And then of course the mid-credit scene. So we finally get a quick glimpse of what Hayward's plan was this whole time. And again, we weren't. He said, I think in the previous episode or the episode before that, when are we going to strike or something like that? And we really didn't know what he had planned. But now we're given a quick glimpse, as I said, and they did in fact rebuild Vision's body and what they needed, because they tried everything. He said, we've taken this thing apart and put him back together so many times and tried so many different power sources that they were unsuccessful, until they realized that all it took was the power from its original source, which was, which they took from the drone that Wanda was able to, she handled when she shot it out of the sky with her hex magic and brought it out. It was still glowing. It was still radiating with that energy. So they were able to harness that and power up the new White Vision's body. And, I'm looking forward to the next episode, because we all thought that, and I still think this might probably happen, but we all thought that Wanda was probably ultimately going to be the big villain, and fake Vision, or the Vision she had in the hex, was probably going to have to fight her. Now it seems that it's going to be her and that Vision facing off the White Vision, if that makes any sense. Also, I'm also looking forward to, and very curious to know, if Paul Bettany is going to be voicing that Vision, or if they're going to get James Spader and make it that he's more Ultron. I think that would be really cool. And I know a few other people are saying that on the internet, but I think that would be cool. And it'd be a better distinction if you are going to have interactions between the two Visions. I think if they're both voiced by Paul Bettany, it might be a little bit of an overload. So I think it would be cool if they did get James Spader to kind of give it that distinction. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to episode 9. Again, it sucks that we're only got one episode to go. There have been rumors several weeks now. Besides, how many rumors are there? There's so many. But besides the whole, the final 3 episodes are going to be an hour long. Obviously, that was a lie. But there's supposedly rumors that there's going to be a 10th episode. I think the theory that came from, especially recently, I know when the episode 8 dropped, Disney Plus sent out a promo for that episode, and it was already dropped. And, episode 8 is airing now, only 2 episodes left. So a lot of people took that to mean that there's 2 episodes left, 9 and 10. And I think there's another theory. I don't know if it was on a Spanish IMDb or IMDb itself, which I know it can't be on IMDb itself, but in some place, one of the actresses that but one of the actresses that have roles in this series was said to have roles in episodes 8, 9, and 10, or something like that, something to that regard. So a lot of people were theorizing that that's why there is a rumored or a possible 10th secret episode. Look, dude, if they drop a secret 10th episode, obviously I'm not going to complain. I mean, I think they need it. With as much info as we did get, we still have more, Oh, the other thing is too, at the very beginning of the episode where Agatha is talking about Pietro, she basically tells Wanda, she calls him Fietro, fake Pietro. And she said that she used, I think she called it a crystalline spell. And that wasn't her, but it was her eyes and ears. So even though it wasn't like her in disguise, the Fietro, but she was able to use some type of hex magic to control that person. aware that it's her eyes and ears. So anything that he saw and heard from Wanda, that's why he was basically saying all that things. If that was her gaining knowledge from that, because again, she was trying to figure out what Wanda was this whole time, but that still doesn't explain who Fietro is. I know the last couple of episodes have been blatantly saying he's an imposter. That is not your uncle. That is not my brother. So that could very well be true. But again, it might also be another misdirect. Why would they use that actor, Evan Peters, to play Quicksilver when he played him? Was it just a nod to the fact, or just a clever way to cast the character? Because as Agatha said, something about she couldn't use necromancy, which is basically like resurrecting the dead, and also his body is on another continent. Referring to Alan Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver from Age of Ultron. So she couldn't resurrect the dead, and there's no spell for that, or at least she can't do that. And the body's on a different continent, so she couldn't use that. But it still doesn't explain whatever. So I don't know if that's it for Fietro, because again, he did have that mid-credit scene altercation with Monica, which was never shown at all in this episode. So we have no idea where Monica and Fietro are right now. We have to reset. Snooper's going to snoop. So, because it abruptly ended and we got nothing of it. So we'll see if that's answered in next week's episode. But there was one other thing I wanted to talk about. I thought it was actually really cool too. When Wanda first drives into Westview, and you see Herb, you see John, I think his name is Jones. The guy where that was my grandmother's piano. We see Mrs. Hart. We see a few other things that, Westview was in shambles after the blip, and I just thought that was cool. And the mailman, of course, we saw the mailman. He was just a regular delivery guy for food. So I thought that was cool. But look, I am looking forward to next week's episode. I hope we get more answers. I hope we get a big cameo. We're all expecting it. Would it be a letdown? Yes, but a lot of these things that we do to ourselves, a lot of these things we do ourselves. We build up this hype within ourselves, wanting this cameo. We were highly spoiled with that Luke Skywalker cameo in the Mandalorian season 2 finale. So it's like, oh well, we want more. WandaVision's got to do that, or we got to see an MCU star in Falcon and Winter Soldier. No, we don't. If the stories are good, like WandaVision has been from episode 1. I know most people didn't really care for the first 2 episodes, but for me, from episode 1, WandaVision had me intrigued. It didn't have any cameos in any of that, so I don't think it'll make or break the series or the finale whether there's a big cameo in it. Obviously, it would add to it. I'm hoping for it, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But we'll see. We'll see if that engineer was in fact that woman, Major Goodner. I can't remember if she was a major or lieutenant, so I apologize, but I'm just going to call her Major Goodner, or if it's somebody else that we didn't meet yet. But I'm just trying to remember really quick. I didn't write anything down. I want to just make sure that we went over everything. Obviously, we had the flashbacks. We got Agatha's past. We got what led up to the Hex. I also think that she basically flat out came out and said to Wanda that, like this town, the reality that you created, and Vision, her kids aren't real. And like Vision, unable to go outside the Hex, I don't think it's going to bode well for her sons. That's just me. So wait and see what they do with Bill, Wiccan and Speed, Billy and Tommy. But all right, guys. We haven't gotten any live comments. Again, this wasn't a planned stream, so I do apologize for the people that were expecting it to come on tomorrow at noon. I just wanted to come on and basically, say my piece, say what I needed to say now. And then, of course, we'll talk about next week's episode next week. But guys, if you can, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more Talk Soup and any other content that I put out. And of course, hit that notification bell. That way, when I do go live, even if it's not planned, you know when I hit that live button. That way you can come on and interact. It just makes the streams that more engaging when I'm talking to you guys, other than just talking to a camera. I'd rather just be asking questions. But if you do have any questions for me or theories or anything that you guys have theorized about WandaVision so far. Also, too, I think that, well, we also got debunked that the people in the commercials were her parents. Obviously, that's not true. But do you think that theory about, because I've seen it all over the internet, I don't think it's true, but what do you guys think about how the commercials were not only about her past traumas, but also referencing the Infinity Stones? Does that still hold water after this week's episode? Do you still believe that? I personally don't. I don't think it does. I think, again, it just deals with her past trauma. That shark commercial with Yo Magic was, in fact, how I think that, and this is to me, I feel like the shark is, in fact, Agatha trying to feed off of Wanda's magic as a power source. And of the Nexus commercial with the antidepressant was just a nod to Wanda being a Nexus being, and a nod to the Nexus of realities, or Nexus of all realities, where it's referencing the many dimensions that Wanda can create and also walk through with ease and still be the same being, because she will always be the same constant in all realities, because she is a Nexus being. So, and again, let me know some of your other theories as well. But all right, guys, this has been Talk Soup with your host, Just Your Average Joe, with my reaction to episode 8 of WandaVision, which was titled Previously On. Until next week, guys, again, drop a comment. Let me know if what you thought of this week's episode, and what are your theories for Friday's finale. Guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you next weekend on Talk Soup.